Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am so very happy to see you here again. Before we get into who today's guest is and what we're talking about, just a couple of housekeeping things as we have started doing. So, of course, want to show you our main website, hardshiprealestate.com, but also our two sister companies that work in conjunction with a lot of our senior services. So we also own Ogden Layton Estate Sales, which does estate sales and liquidations for personal property within a home. Additionally, we provide what are called aftercare services or after death services. If you go to Utah non-legal probate services.com, it can talk about some of those services such as claiming government benefits, credit and debit card notifications. Of course, we can find attorneys for you if there's some issues with trust or probate, especially after death. This comes up a lot. We're even able to help shut down subscriptions such as to Netflix. So these are services that we do offer in conjunction with people, of course, selling the home, whether they've moved to assisted living or they have passed away. Going back into just really senior housing, brings us to today's guest, Karie Beyer. Karie is a sales rep, sales agent, I guess is what we'd say, for Ovation Homes, which is one of the very few 55 plus new build communities here in Utah. So I thought it made a lot of sense to have her on here to talk a little bit about Ovation Homes and what they are doing to help that segment of the senior population with these brand new homes that they've been constructing in a few different locations. Maybe, Karie, you can tell us a little bit about some of those locations and what types of homes you're building and the amenities and such.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be able to talk to your audience today. And like you said, I'm a real estate agent with Bruff Realty, but I have been representing Ovation Homes for over 10 years. So I've been able to help a lot of our seniors 55 and older get into the single level houses. And it's been just really a great opportunity. When I started out, I wasn't even in that segment, but as I've aged, I've also come into that segment, and it's been really wonderful because I've been able to have it more of a personal experience now. And it's just, I think it can be so life-changing for our seniors. So it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Now, with these new builds, what are some of the floor plans like? I mean, these aren't just ramblers, some are. I think you have a couple of different things. So tell us a little bit about the inventory that Ovation has.
Okay, so the very first thing that I always tell people is that even though you're downsizing, you want to have a place that your family and your friends can gather. So even though you can take out some of the rooms, you want that big gathering space. And that is one thing I will say Ovation does is they really specialize in having a space to where friends and family can gather. So our house plans that they do range between 1,500 square feet up to my biggest one right now is 3,500 square feet. So you can have, just depending on where you're at financially or what your needs are, it really does fit everyone's needs. So when you're going into the Ovation Homes, there's no steps going into the front door or into the garage. The only time there are steps is if you decide to add a bonus room or a loft. It's very easy living, and besides just being really easy living, they're really beautiful homes. So you can definitely move out of your big, huge home and still step into something that feels really good and natural. So I love selling them to people because it's life changing.
Well, you brought up stairs, and so this is all single level living. So we're not having to worry about, going down to a basement like in a lot of our ramblers here in Utah or some of these multi-level homes. It's the word people always say is patio home, but from it, I supposedly that's a taboo word. You're not supposed to say it anymore, whatever that means. But I know we've talked about it here on the channel before. Stairs are one of the biggest actual hazards
Yeah.
seniors. It's a really big deal, and people think sometimes like we overstate it, but it's a very real thing. Falls are a
Mhm.
huge factor for injury amongst seniors. So getting rid of those steps, and I love that you brought up that there's no steps to go into the front door, so it's ground level, and the same with the garage, because even
Right.
one or two steps, people can fall very easily. We had one not too long ago where we sold a home for a daughter who was the survivor. Both parents passed away, but her father in that home, he had gone out the front door and it had one, two steps. and he missed it and fell back into his head, and that's how he passed away.
Wow.
It's a
You
real thing.
It is a real thing. At a certain age, a fall can be life-changing and it can kill you. And most of the reason people start deciding that they want to make a change is because of stairs. And then probably the second reason is because of their yards. So those two combinations together are usually what drives people in. And I think it's funny that you would say patio homes are kind of taboo because it has kind of an older feel. We want single level living, but you still want to live in a great place and feel like you want to have people over. And, it's just so, yeah, that's funny you would say that because I've had a lot of people tell me that.
Yeah, because sometimes you talk to seniors like, I'm looking for a patio home, and this
Yeah.
is called single level living now. It's really funny. So you mentioned the yard works. Is there an HOA with Ovation Homes in these
Yeah.
communities?
So there's a couple of kinds of situations that Ovation does, which I think has been really, really nice. So I'll tell you what our average community is that not only when you buy an Ovation home, they put in a fenced in backyard and also landscaping. So it's really move-in ready. And most of our HOAs take care of the front and side lawns, caring for them, and then also snow removal. So the backyard's their responsibility, but like my mom lived in one and she just hired the HOA, the landscapers to take care of her yard. And then they just pay them directly. So that's the typical Ovation home, but some of our communities will still put in the yard, still do the fenced in backyard, but they're not going to maintain it. And that's usually just one in probably 10 subdivisions that we do. They kind of try to keep it interesting because some people don't want an HOA, but a lot of people do want an HOA because they don't want to have that worry. And they also like to be able to lock up their house and be able to travel, go visit family and friends and not have to worry about it. So it just really depends on what you're looking for. They kind of try to tailor it to the communities.
How much do these HOAs range to monthly for Ovation?
So it just really depends, but usually they're between $100 and $135 a month.
That's cheaper than if you go hire a lawn service. That
Totally.
is because I live in Roy, and
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of older people here, and it is shocking. I walk every morning in my neighborhood and some of the adjoining neighborhoods. Every morning there is some lawn care company mowing the lawn, and it's because there's a older lady there who's lived there alone for so many years. She just cannot mow the lawn, and I know minimum for a lot of those people is 200 a month.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly right.
then they don't do snow removal. That's a separate service. So if it's between, well, you said 1 to 200, I mean, that's already cheaper than hiring it out.
Yeah.
So that's a really good deal.
Yeah. And it's just makes their life just a little easier. In situations, a lot of people still want to have their hands in their yard, but more in a creative capacity, not a let me work every week to do that. I have clients that like to have garden boxes and flower rocks in their flowers. And so, they'll take their backyards and really create like an oasis that's really personal to them. And makes the indoor outdoor living so natural because how we were talking about no stairs going in or out of the house in the garage and stuff, but that's the same way with the patios. So a lot of them will just open up those big slider doors and walk right out, and family and friends can just kind of go in and out and stuff.
That's really nice, even for the back door. I didn't think about that and go coming off
Mhm.
the patio into the grass. I'm trying to remember. I know y'all have one in West Point, correct?
Correct.
Where all do you have communities at the moment that have homes available?
So right now I'm selling in West Layton, West Point, and West Haven. For some reason, there's land out west. So that's where we're selling a lot. We have a community that Ovation is putting in right now in Syracuse, and it's right off Gordon Avenue. And then there's going to be another one in West Layton that's coming really soon. So they're always looking for lots of land, and we're going to have some more in West Point. They haven't officially announced it or started selling them, but they're constantly trying to just open up communities because there's such a big need. I mean, Weber and also Davis County, those homes come up for sale and they just go immediately. It's just the most amazing thing. So There's just a huge need because our seniors are just getting, aging. So,
A big topic, obviously, on this channel in terms of the limited options for seniors and
mm,
how it will be, how do I say this, much more obvious to the general public in about 10 years
yeah.
because of shifting demographics. It'll be much more obvious. So, how long has Ovation been building senior communities in Utah?
They've been doing it for around 25 years. I've been with them a little over 10 years now. They do a great job. I think one thing that they do a really good job at is listening to what the clients have to bring to the table. They'll talk about, oh, we really like, bigger islands, or we want a bigger walk-in closet, or whatever the need is, or whatever their suggestions are, they really take that to heart and try to customize it to be able to help get the very best thing for them. And then they create these floor plans to tailor our seniors. So I think they've done a great job. I have loved selling for them.
How many of the senior buyers that come to Ovation would you say are just straight cash, like they went and sold a home and they downsized for cash, or they get some sort of traditional loan, or there's this third one, which I don't see a ton of, but I think it will increase over time, is the HECM for purchase.
The Heckam, is that like a reverse mortgage kind of a
Yes.
thing?
Reverse mortgage for purchase. Yes.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's not coming up.
No, I don't call it by that. So that's why I just wanted to clarify. I did actually more of the reverse mortgages when I first started representing Ovation, but with the interest rates being higher, the amount of cash that they have to bring in has increased. And so that's been a little bit of a challenge, but that's been a great way to get our seniors into these nice new homes with no house payment. I used to probably do about 25% of them would be a reverse mortgage. I'm seeing less of that lately because of the increase in the interest rates. It's just really made it more difficult for them to bring that cash to the table. Now, I do a ton, probably half of my business is cash. The seniors haven't been as affected by the high interest rates that we're dealing with right now. They are able to sell their homes and then turn that money over. Or I see really small little mortgages that they put on their houses. So something that they can manage easily. So that's what I see a lot of.
Huge down payment and a very, very small mortgage. Yeah.
Correct.
I've seen
Mhm.
that as well. That's interesting. That seems to line up with a lot of what we see. Um, I guess two final questions. Do you have a preferred lender that you guys work with?
Ovation uses Golden West Credit Union a lot. We also use Guild Mortgage a lot and one other, Cash Valley, a lot. So those are the three that we've been using recently the most. So they've been great.
Would you say that most of the clients that buy Ovation homes are native to Utah, or are you seeing people coming in from out of state and buying these?
Such a great question. In the past, I would say native to Utah, but I have sold to a lot of people relocating back to Utah to be close to family. So, I've sold recently to people from Washington, California, Colorado, and even Texas, coming back to get close to their family, or their family has moved here. Either their children work for the base and they want to be closer to grandchildren. Grandchildren are the key to where grandparents want to be. So you see them gravitating to the grandchildren all the time.
Tell us how best to contact you and, of course, to find out more information about Ovation.
Yeah, of course, whenever you're a real estate agent, you can get me on my phone almost 24 hours a day. They can just call me directly if you want. I can give you my telephone number, or you can it's 801-792-6598. And you can shoot me a text, or if you want to, shoot me a text. And if you want just an email, sometimes that's a little bit softer for people. They think it's going to be this hard, sell, but I'm just here to put communities together. And if it works for people, great. And if it doesn't, then I totally understand. So I can send people information, and that's the best way for people to get a hold of me, is just to contact me personally.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the channel, Karie. And of course, our audience appreciates it. And folks, if you can, please check out Ovation. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either one of us. But otherwise, until next time, we'll see you. Thanks so
Great.
much.
Thanks, Stephen.